Hello, and welcome to the Kankakee Podcast. I am not Jake LaMore. He is homesick, and after months of pleading with him to let me host his podcast, he's finally desperate enough to let me do it. So I'm Andrew McBurnie, and I'm filling in today. I am joined by Tyler McMahon and Bonnie Brewer, and they're a part of KVTA's upcoming production of Steel Magnolias.
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
Well, welcome to the Kankakee Podcast.
Thank you.
You both have done it before, right?
Yes, I've done a couple of podcasts with Jake, mostly about the Community Arts Council activities and the Strawberry Jazz Festival.
Okay.
I've done a couple for shows, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell me each real quick, what is your role within Steel Magnolias? What are your responsibilities?
Well, for this production, I am the director.
And I am playing the part of Weezer Boudreaux.
Weezer Boudreaux, that's a name.
Yes.
It is. The story takes place in Louisiana, so there are a lot of Cajun-influenced names of people and places.
Gotcha. And for, I know the movie is iconic. It came out in the 90s?
Very end of the 80s. So it's
Okay.
got a very 80s feel to it, which is also the play has got a very 80s feel to it. Mostly because the story revolves around one particular girl who suffers from diabetes. And this is in the early times of the 80s with diabetes, where there wasn't as much knowledge as there is today about having the disease.
And building off of that, for those who have maybe never seen the movie or never seen the play live, can you kind of give, without spoilers, kind of a brief synopsis of what takes place in Steel Magnolias?
So the stage version is much different than the movie version in the sense that this is only 6 women and in one location. There's no men in the show. There's not all the extra characters. You never meet them. You only hear about them. And it is 6 women in Truvy's barbershop, or not barbershop, but beauty shop. They come there to get their hair done. 3 of them are regulars. Yes, I have to think about it. 3 of them are regulars that come there pretty much every Saturday. That's when she takes the women that live close by in the neighborhood, are her clients for that day. And then there's a new beautician that's starting. And then one of the regulars, Malin, her daughter Shelby, it's her wedding day is the start of the show. So she's coming there that day.
Tensions are high.
Yes. And it's just the dynamic of these 6 women, all of different generations. Weezer and Clary were both of the same generation. They mention at one point, Clary says Weezer was her maid of honor in her wedding. They're both over 60. We won't give it a specific age. And then Malin and Truvy are about the same age. And then her daughter Shelby and the new beautician Annelle are around the same age. So it's 3 generations of these Southern women who all also come from different backgrounds. And how they all sort of interact and known each other for years, and how close some of them are, their general personalities, and how they interact with each other through 4 different seasons. So you start in the spring, and then it goes to the winter time, come back a year and a half later in summer, and then fall. So you hit each season over about a 2.5 year period.
Gotcha. That sounds very interesting.
Yes.
And Bonnie, you have played many roles before. This is not your first time on the stage. How does this role kind of compare to other ones you've done before?
Well, the role of Weezer Boudreaux is the easiest one in the show because it has all the great lines. So it just stay in character, deliver the lines, and the audience is going to have a great laugh at your expense. The first time that we did Steel Magnolias here with KVT, I played the role of Malin. And that is probably one of the most difficult roles to play because you start off as the mother of the bride, and then you end up having the most emotional outburst by the end of the show. And so it's quite a range of emotions, a lot of lines to learn. So I don't have nearly as many lines this time around, and that makes it easier. But it is a lot of fun. And one of the things about Steel Magnolias that makes it so popular and long-lasting because of the lines. They're so quotable. One of the favorite lines is, my mama always told me, if you don't have anything nice to say about anyone, come sit by me. And probably one of the most famous lines is, we could sell T-shirts. I slapped Weezer Boudreaux.
Yeah. It's I know people who have just seen clips of it, maybe never seen a stage version, seen the movie, that the lines can fit in so many parts of life. And the other thing I truly believe that draws people to it is, you know who these women are, even if you've never seen the show. By the end, you go, oh, I know a Weezer. I know this curmudgeonly old woman who just is rude to everybody.
Sure.
She's sweet when she needs to be, but generally disliked by most people. To Truvy, who's just got the heart of the show almost. Since everybody's there, she's constantly looking out for everybody within the show, wanting to make sure everybody's okay and being a peacemaker. Obviously, when mother and daughter get there in the first scene and it's wedding day, Malin and Shelby don't have a very... Well, I don't want to say they don't have a strong relationship, but they butt heads a lot. Shelby's very independent, which her mother doesn't want her to be, because she has this disease. She's always looked after her, and Shelby's always needed to be her own person. So they butt heads a lot, from everything from her choice of husband to her choice of colors of her dress to how her hair gets done to everything. What's going to happen after the wedding, after, they've been married, everything. And when that happens a lot, Truvy is the one who tries to, let's change the subject and be the peacemaker, because Malin's one of her best friends, but she doesn't want this arguing to happen. You see all those people, Anel coming in, being very awkward. Her character is just very awkward throughout the entire show. And you could sit there and go, oh, I've seen that. I know that girl. I went to high school with that girl. Oh, I can totally see that. I think a lot of people find these women are in their own families. I really think that's the thing, is you can go, oh, absolutely. Yep, that's my aunt, or that's exactly the relationship I have with my mom, or had with my mom, or whatever, or with my daughter. And that's, I think, something that the women have been able to pull in from their own lives. To be able to sit there and tell our Malin, as we were going through one particular scene, I said, you know what? I need you to act like this is your own 16-year-old daughter. And she knew right away what that meant. Yeah. And from then on, she was a little different. She was getting closer to what we needed. And it's built since then, knowing that's the relationship, that's where they can pull from. I don't know where Bonnie gets the curmudgeon part. I can make guesses, but it's that sort of thing. Is I can tell that they're pulling from people that they know or women they know in their own lives.
Yeah. So I'm hearing there are moments where it's emotional and deep, but I'm also hearing moments where it's quotable and comedic.
Absolutely.
What genre does this type of show fit into?
I guess you would say it's there's the term a dramedy, where it's drama and comedy mixed together. I think it's probably, and you could tell me if you think different, I would say it's probably 85 to 90% comedy. And then the rest is drama. Because even within some of the dramatic stuff, there's some laughter in it.
Yeah.
There's some times where they make it funny. And even the most dramatic parts don't last very long. They're quickly changed to comedy. There's a great line in the show that Truvy says, laughter through tears is one of my favorite emotions. And that's exactly what the show is when it comes to the dramatic side. It's laughter through the tears that are happening. And I think that's another thing that draws people to it, is even though it's the South, even though, it's Louisiana, it's these women, you feel for them and you recognize the story. You recognize it may not fit perfectly. And the main reason for that is because it's a real story. The author, Robert Harling, this is his mom and his sister. His sister, Susan, this is what happened. She passed from complications of diabetes.
Spoiler alert.
But to get over it, and to give something to his nephew who would not know his mother, he wrote this play. Someone said, "Oh, you should write it." And so he started writing this play, and he kept developing it, and then turned it into, pulled this character and took his mom in and pulled this and created this whole world. And so it's become something. And a great thing is, if you ever watch the movie, he's the pastor in the movie that marries Shelby to Jackson. And then
that's cool.
You see him a few more times. So he was there.
Yeah.
So then he got to sort of relive some of it in the movie. But that's the whole play, is he wrote this about his family to go through the grieving process and to give something to his sister's son to remember his mother.
Wow.
So I think that helps, and why it feels real. There's, there's nothing whimsical about the show. There's nothing, in that way. A great example to explain how simple the show is going to set the lights for the show yesterday. They said, "Well, what do you need?" And I said, literally, lights up. We need dim when there's a power outage, and then lights back up again and blackout. There's no other light cues because it's not that type of show.
Yeah.
I said, we don't need, there's a fight sequence. We need all.
Sure.
It's really simple. We're inside. The power goes out for part of one scene, lights up, blackout. That's it.
Yeah.
That's how simple it is. You're not going in to see the spectacle of, these crazy costumes and sets. And not like some of the shows we've done in the past, which are great, but this is just real simple.
Yeah.
Just sit back and enjoy watching this show that, you'll feel something for.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I wanted to ask. I know there are a lot of audience members who typically really like to hit the musicals.
Yes.
Like to come to the musicals. So if there's somebody kind of on the fence of maybe wanting to come and see a play, what's the appeal at that point? If you take away the music, take away a lot of the lights, what is there to kind of keep you engaged and experience if you've never seen a play before?
To me, it's the writing of the show. You can have a great idea and lousy writing for a play.
Sure.
This is a great idea, and he did very excellent writing. I think that's why it's stood the test of time so far, and that will continue on. And it's not just that it's great writing; it's so relatable. And to have things like Bonnie says, Weezer's got the best lines, because most of them are insults. Most of them are complaints. When we audition the show, I talked to every woman that auditioned and asked them questions before we started reading anything. And one of the things I asked was, is there a character you identify with the most? And overwhelmingly, Weezer was the answer.
Huh.
They just said, just to get up and not care what anybody thinks and say whatever. There's no filter from brain to mouth. Weezer says what she wants. She tells it like it is. She does not care who she insults. And that's, I think, something that everyone's like, she's going to say what everybody else is thinking. In that moment on stage, everyone might be thinking this, and you might not realize. And then here comes Weezer, and she says exactly what everyone's going to be thinking about this.
Yeah.
And going, well, that's kind of what I thought too. When she tells this person, how she feels, or yells at her dog to shut up. We're going to have a dog barking, and people are going to be going, oh, my God, the dog. Here's Weezer. Shut up, Rhett. Everyone's going to feel the same way.
Bonnie, when you were asked that question at auditions, did you say Weezer, the character you connected with?
No, my first choice is always Malin.
Okay.
But for me, that is the attraction of this show. It is just an opportunity for some really good acting.
Yeah.
Really creating great characters.
And Tyler, what was it that you saw in Bonnie when she was auditioning that made you go, that's my Weezer?
I have said this time and time again, as a director that has directed Bonnie in a few shows, acted with Bonnie on stage, as actor to actor, is I feel that she's sometimes an overlooked actress in the community. I think people don't always think of her right away. And I always sit there and go, oh, you'd be surprised what she can pull off. You know, I think everyone just pictures her as sweet, nice Bonnie Brewer. And then she'll come in and play a role that is nowhere near her normal personality.
Yeah,
and you go,
quick mention Edwin Drood.
Yes.
Oh,
Edwin
you were
Drood.
hilarious.
Thank you.
My favorite to always tell people is to be on stage and be in a scene with her when we did Doubt several years ago, and she was playing Sister Aloysius, who is not a nice person in the least bit. I went in going, you know, even before I auditioned for it, I was just like, God, I hope Bonnie auditions and I hope she gets that part, just because I was like, she will show people what she can do.
Yeah.
And then to have her get it, and then to play Father Flynn and get to be on stage screaming at each other in anger, both of us, was not easy to do at first. And then you get past who you're looking at and you go, I'm not looking at her. I'm looking at this character. But the best compliment I think she got, and I won't say it because we can't say it on a podcast, is what my mom came up to her afterwards and called her, said, oh my God, you were such a...
Fill in the blank.
Yes, and I said, no, that's a compliment, because no one thinks of her that way. No one would necessarily think, oh yeah, Weezer, the one that comes in and is just miserable the entire show.
Yeah.
But she knew going in what that character was. And so she did that. She read for Clary and for Weezer, and we just went, she'll be so funny as Weezer and steal the scenes. I mean, her first entrance is hilarious. You know, the way that she comes in, you know, I won't spoil that one, but it's just everything that she does. People are going to be like, that's the appeal of it. But I think most people and most of the women that came in, you know, they look at it and go, you know, over time, whether you're younger and you can go for a Nell or Shelby, then you get a little more middle-aged to more seasoned, you've got those possibilities. And I think that for most women that want it, they're like, just to be a part of it. Whether it's this part or that part, to be a part of it is something that they want to do. And like we have our 6 understudies, and they are fantastic. And I think for them, it's that chance to do it, and they get to watch each other and learn off of each other and that sort of thing. It's the massive appeal. And Bonnie just, I also love the way that I can direct, and I don't think she's ever told me no. I can't think of any time I've ever said, can you do this? And you went, no.
Is that true?
I always say I'll give it a try.
Yes,
we'll make it work.
Yes, you know, just recently I asked her, could you do a spit take at this one point? And the look on her face was no, but she went, we can try it. I said, I think it could work. And then we realized, oh, we don't need to do that. It doesn't need to be this. It can be this instead to make it easier.
Yeah.
Okay, that gets the same point across. It's never a no. It's always a let's try it, or let's think of something else that will work. And that's what I like as a director, and that's what I like as an actor too, as a director that lets that happen. And there's Drew, what else have you been
Bonnie,
in for
what's
me?
one of the some of the most notable things you've been asked to do for
Well,
production?
thank you for all of that. Last year's production of Drood was quite a departure for me. I've been in musicals. I've had the lead role in a couple of shows, Hello Dolly and Fiddler on the Roof. I've been Mrs. Peru in The Music Man so many times we lost count. But for Drood last year, I did not realize when I auditioned for it just how demanding the role was going to be. I had to learn 6 songs. In a supporting role, you don't usually get 6 solos. But I had 6 songs where I had solos or part of a solo. And the one song, I had to learn 6 different endings for the one song.
Yeah.
Because we were revealing who one of the mystery characters was in the story.
Yeah.
So,
and for those who didn't see Edwin Drood, I knew nothing going into it.
No, I did not know it was a Dickens story.
I knew it was one of those kind of choose your own endings, but the audience, it's a mystery. The show is a mystery, and the audience got to choose what 3 different things. It was who is the killer.
They picked the who was the murderer, who was the detective, and who were the secret lovers.
Yes. And so I recorded it a few different nights because we had to do all of the different endings. And that's the thing audience got to pick. So for the cast, there was a handful of different endings, and different characters on the spot would say, okay, you're up, you're singing that song.
And the murderer never knew until their name got called. And a song immediately started.
Yeah.
They had to just be prepared for this character to say their name, and boom, the music started, and they had a confession song to sing.
I think
the lovers never knew until the narrator or the chairman came and grabbed them by hand, and that's when they found. And he would always try to psych them out before he grabbed their hand. And whoever was the detective, they only knew because they had to make an entrance. But everybody else on stage didn't always know right away.
Yeah. I think I went the night that Bonnie, your character, was voted as one of the secret lovers.
Yes.
It was our favorite.
It was the best one.
Yeah.
When you sang with, he had to be, 19?
Walter.
Yes.
Yes. I think actually, he turned 18 during the production.
Yeah.
Oh,
he was a
We've
good
covered all
sport.
bases then.
But that was a great one because in opposite Bonnie Brewer fashion, her character was dirty.
Yes,
her character had a lot of dirty
funny.
innuendos, and I told a lot of people it's worth the ticket price just to hear Bonnie say a couple of cuss words on stage and be dirty. Absolutely. And that show went over extremely, extremely well. I mean, to have
enjoyed it.
Our first weekend sell out was a shock, I think, to everyone, including myself. And I was just like, I'd be great if we just have an audience that enjoys it, let alone there weren't seats left. That was fantastic. And we actually, to kind of go back to it, we're already that way with Still Magnolias. There are not many seats left for performances.
Wow.
And it's been great the last couple of weeks to get an update every night on tickets and to tell the cast, this is how many are sold for each one.
Yeah.
This is sort of an awesome thing to 2 weeks out. Tech Week is next week. To have that chance to have, near or actual sold out shows is awesome. The fuller that audience is, the better. And for these ladies, it'll be great because it'll be, a chance for them to hear laughter.
Sure.
Bonnie can attest to this. I have a bad habit as a director. I don't laugh at things. You think, why are you directing comedies then? By the time we get to rehearsals, I've read through the script. I don't find the jokes as funny anymore. You got to catch me off guard with something that I do not expect for me to laugh.
Sure.
And the only thing that's bad for them is they don't then know if this joke is going to get laughter.
Yeah.
Or what we've added. We just had an actress who was out for a couple nights because she was sick, and she goes, I was running the scenes with my mother, and she couldn't stop laughing. So I think we need to prepare ourselves for lots of laughter, folks.
Yeah. Well, and as you guys know, we've all acted together. I've spent some time on stage too, and that's one of the things that I don't know if you've never been on stage before. We rehearse over and over and over. And one thing that's every single show I do, the moment you get an audience in there, they're going to laugh at things you never thought were funny. Yeah. And you're going to have things that you think are hilarious that no one's going to care.
Yeah.
It's always just
There's
different.
never a guarantee. And even though we have we've done the preview night for I don't know how many years now, that's a great little bit of a taste to find out, they might laugh here.
Yeah.
This song's going to go over better than, this song might, but it also depends on who's in the audience. Bonnie and I just before Still Magnolias came off a production of Into the Woods in Indiana, and we had one performance where one actor had a couple of the seats were by tables, had at least 2 tables that were just his friends.
Oh,
so
that's the way to
every
do it.
time he was on stage,
Yeah.
they laughed more at his lines.
Yeah.
His songs got done. There were massive cheers. They cheered for everyone else. His was just a little more.
Yep.
And it was one of those things where, yeah, that's going to happen when it's depending on the audience.
It's like a high school graduation.
To the same way you always have to
Exactly.
say, just be prepared. You don't know a line that you've never thought was funny, that was maybe never intended to be funny.
Sure.
Somebody might find out. I remember working on a show once, the night that we did photos, and someone said a line and the photographer started laughing, and it was never a line that anybody had thought was funny. And they just started laughing at it, and it was just the circumstance. It was something that was funny to them. And we were like, we don't know why that's funny.
Yeah.
And they just started laughing. And then I had to ask them later, and it was just the circumstance of something they experienced that it made them remember. And I was just like, that could happen in the middle of, might be a single laugh.
Yep.
But there could be that one laugh, and you may need to hold for just that moment.
Yep.
And that's this show a lot is, I mean, do you feel like, I mean, we pretty much are chugging along through the scenes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's going to probably stop once we get an audience in there.
It will.
They're
It
going to
will.
not kill the momentum, but it's definitely some speed bumps because they're going to,
Yeah.
depending on how they laugh at things.
Well,
And
that's one thing that might be special about this show compared to others. A lot of times with musicals, by the time things might start to slow down, you've got another song. Keep things moving, stay on tempo.
Yeah.
With plays, depending on the genre of the play, sometimes they can feel slow or drawn out. But it
Yeah.
sounds like this one's pretty rapid fire. Just
Yeah,
back to back
it
to
is.
back to
It
back.
is, and as Bonnie said, because the lines are so iconic, is you may have people starting to laugh before the line's done being said
Oh,
because they
sure.
know what's coming. Over the summer, we had the 60th anniversary for KVT, and there was a party at the studio, and one of the things that we presented was I had 3 women who just did line readings of the show, the famous lines from the play. And as it was being done, I looked out and saw some of the women, Bonnie included, and another woman that had been in the production in the 90s. And I saw them all mouthing the lines as they were being said, or saying them just right out loud with them when they got to their favorite line. Donna Taylor, who is a friend of ours who had played Clary, who has the line Bonnie mentioned, when they got to it out loud, I heard Donna go, "If you can't say anything nice," right out loud, she goes, "Come sit by me," along with the woman on stage that was doing it, because they're so iconic. You start to laugh because you already know the punchline. They become ingrained sort of within the zeitgeist of the American culture. They know it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that might come up is you're not even done with your line and
You've got super
they're laughing
fans out
already
there.
because they already know what's coming.
Yeah. Bonnie, what's it like working with the 5 other actresses? I mean, that's got to be a lot more of an intimate setting to act in.
It is, and every time I've done this show in particular, you just form a bond and a friendship, and you get to know each other personally. We all know whose dogs, what their dogs' names are,
Yeah.
and cats. I met Dixie on Saturday night, so it makes the show even more special and even more meaningful that you really get to know these ladies on a very deep and personal level.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when is the show?
We open next weekend. So we open on January 31st. Come and see it. My birthday's the 30th. Make it a birthday present to me, even if you don't know me. So we open on the 31st, 7 o'clock. Then on Saturday, February 1st, we have a 2 p.m. show, a matinee. And just added, because tickets are selling so well, we have a 7 p.m. show added that evening on
that's exciting.
the 1st. And then our final performance is on February 2nd, Sunday at 2 p.m. So you can get all your tickets, kvta.org, follow the prompts. Get your tickets now. I know the new show's added, but get them now because we've barely done advertising, and we're almost out of tickets for the 3 initial shows.
In which usually, especially for plays,
Yes.
tickets can be a lot harder to sell.
So this is a good one, and I think it's, like we've said, the title, the story. It's what's drawing people in. I kind of felt that going in. Oh, this is going to be one the tickets are going to go. They're going to sell, and we're going to be down to a few. You know, when you always look at it, and there's one. Oh, there's a seat here, and there's a seat here.
Yeah.
That's what it's starting to look like for some of them.
Okay.
So get your seats. You might not, come on your own, come with a friend. You may not be able to sit by them, but, you can talk about it afterward.
Yeah. Or you can stand in the back with me, because I always have to stand when I record their productions. So I'm not able to try out the new seats, but I will admire them from afar.
I'm sure we can finagle an extra seat somewhere for you to sit in for a few moments.
Or one with 3 or 4 foot high legs, so I can stay with the
We'll see if we
tripod.
can. We got 2 weeks. We can have Andy build a platform for you.
That'd be great.
We can put a seat on.
That'd be great. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And I will see you next week.
Absolutely.
That concludes this episode of Kankakee Podcast. I'm Jake LaMore. Thank you so much for listening. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Kankakee Podcast. Shout out to Stephanie Vanderweide for supporting the show each month through Patreon. If you want your name announced on a future episode, you can sign up at patreon.com/Kankakee Podcast. Special thanks to our sponsors, Chicago Dough Company, Noble Dairy Queen Stores, Frank's Appliance Center and Sleep Source, Pigosh Engineering, King Music, Little Me Studio, Taco John's, D. Westfall Jewelers, and Edward Jones Financial Advisor Adam Elroy. Kankakee Podcast is produced by the fine team at Pathfinder, a full-service marketing agency in downtown Kankakee. Learn more at yourpathfinder.io. Our theme song is by Lupe Carroll.